Alright, so this is an overview of my cryptography project. This project we're using two different encryption methods, the Caesar cipher and the XOR, also known as the exclusive OR cipher. So let's check out the file. So here essentially what we're doing is we're asking the user for some input. What the user will do is he'll pick either encryption or decryption, what cipher they want to use, the Caesar or the XOR, the type of key that they want to use to encrypt the file. And what we're going to do is we're going to take in a text file and either encrypt it or decrypt it. So let's take a look at our Caesar encryption first. Essentially what you're doing in a Caesar cipher is you're grabbing all the letters from a message and basically moving it down the alphabet. So if you had the letter A and you had the key 3, it would move down A, B, C. So that'd be your new encryption. And essentially what it's doing is it's doing that to the whole alphabet. The whole message. Now, if we look at decryption, we're basically just reversing that process. So where encryption, we're going to the right of the alphabet. In decryption, we're going left to the alphabet. And we're getting our old message back, our decrypted message. The only thing is that we have to make sure that we're using the same key in order to get that message back. Now, as far as the XOR encryption, this one's a little bit more complicated, not by too much, but essentially what it's doing is it's grabbing each letter from the message and it's transforming that into binary code. So each letter's binary is going to be compared to each letter from the key. So if we had like a long message like password, for instance, as a key, it would go down it. So it would use the letter P first, A, S, S, and so on. Now, once it got to like the D in password, it would reset, go back to the P, P, A, S, S, and then so on. It basically just kind of loops the key. So if we had a long message and a short key, it would just loop the key until each of those letters in the message are encrypted. And it's basically doing that using, the XOR math. Here I put it in a different function. The XOR math is basically if it's 0, 1, it's a 1. If it's 1, 0, it's a 1. If it's 0, 0, it's a 0. And if it's a 1, 1, it's a 0. And as long as we follow those rules, we have our encrypted message. Now, as far as looking at the decryption, it's essentially doing the same thing. We just have to apply the same math, the binary math to it, and we get our message back. Of course, we just have to make sure that we have our same key to decrypt our message. Then here's just a switch. So if they wanted to encrypt, it makes a file afterwards with our new encrypted message. And here we just title it with the name of the cipher. And this is how we know that it's an encrypted message. All right, so let's try it out. Python. All right, so let's first encrypt a message. Well, first of all, let's see our text file. Here I have a sample message that says, "Hello, Jerry." Pretty simple. So our first input is that we're encrypting a file. What cipher do we want to use? We want to use the Caesar cipher first. And the key. So let's just do, our key is the number 3. And then let's enter our test file. All right, cool. So now we have our new encrypted text file. And as we can see here, it just looks like a bunch of random characters, but it's basically this message just encrypted. Now let's decrypt that message. So let's do decryption. The Caesar cipher. The key is 3. And then let's decrypt our new file, which is using the Caesar method, or Caesar cipher. Awesome. So this is our encrypted message, and we can see here that we have our decrypted message, original to our first one. Cool. Now let's use the XOR cipher. So let's encrypt a message, use the XOR key. Let's do passcode, And then let's use our original test file. Awesome. So as we can see here, it turns our message into binary. And remember, what it's doing is it's grabbing our message, turning each letter into binary, and doing the binary math with our new passkey. Now let's decrypt it. So let's do decryption, the XOR cipher, our passkey, which is let me just make sure, passcode. And then let's decrypt our encrypted file. Test XOR.enc. Awesome. And we get our original message back. Now let's use that same functionality using Python sockets. Alright, cool. So what we got here? So first one we're going to look at, we got our Caesar cipher, our XOR cipher, and then this is just the XOR math. So we'll start this off by the user entering a message, choosing the type of cipher, entering their password, their key. And what this client code is going to do is it's going to connect to a server, a port, and we're going to send our encrypted message to our server. The way I have it set up here is it's sending the encrypted message, the key, and the type of cipher. That way it knows how to decrypt it using the key and the cipher as well as the encrypted message. As we can see here, once we know the type of cipher, we know how to encrypt the message. And we put those little spaces there, that way it kind of fits into these variables right here. Alright, so let's try it out. Do a new terminal. Alright, so first what we want to do here is start our server side first. Sockets, Python, server.py. There we go. So now our server is waiting for our message. And now we can run our client. cd sockets Python client.py. Awesome. So if we were to run hello, we do our Caesar cipher. Key is 3. So we can see here that the message that was sent was an encrypted message. Go over here. So we see that it received this encrypted message and it decrypted the message. So here, let's try another one doing the XOR. Alright, so now we got our server waiting for our message. We got client, hello Jerry. Let's do our XOR, our key. Let's do dog. And there we go. We have our XOR encryption. Our XOR encryption got received over here, and it decrypted it to the original message. And that concludes my overview of my cryptography project. Thank you.